Good morning, Impact Group. Today we're going to be talking about our talents and our strengths. Last week we looked at our struggles. Now let's see what we're good at and what we need to be doing with that. Our passage today is going to be Matthew 25:14 through 25. And I'm going to read this from the Message today. It's also like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one he gave $5,000, to another $2,000, to a third $1,000, depending on their abilities. Then he left. Right off, the first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. The second did the same. But the man with the single $1,000 dug a hole and carefully buried his master's money. After a long absence, the master of those three servants came back and settled up with them. The one given $5,000 showed him how he had doubled his investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. The servant with the $2,000 showed how he also had doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. The servant given $1,000 said, Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances for error. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, down to the last cent. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where at least I would have gotten a little interest. Take the $1,000 and give it to the one who risks the most, and get rid of this play it safe who won't go out on a limb. Throw him into utter darkness. And that's actually through verse 30. May God bless the reading of his word today. Okay, so we're talking about our strengths. I want you to think for a minute, back to when you were in school, or if you have kids in school. They bring home their report card, or you brought home your report card. What grade did everybody focus on? Was it your best grade or your worst grade? I know in my house it was my worst grade, okay? I could have, all A's, but bring home 1B or 1C, and it would be zeroed in on really fast. Didn't matter that I had literally made A's and everything else. My weak areas where people focused. That's what we tend to do in life too, guys. We tend to focus on what we're weakest at, what we're not good at, instead of what we are good at. This story here, this is like one of my favorite parables, because it does talk about, God's given us, in other translations, instead of money, it's called, their money was called talents. And so you can take that, God's given you certain talents. He's equipped you with certain things, and he's waiting to see what you're going to do with them. Are you going to bury that talent because maybe you have one talent over here to somebody else's 3 or 4 over here? I might not be able to write songs like a friend of mine and make awesome music, or I might not be able to preach to a crowded room like my amazing pastor. But my talent's over here, and, it's kind of more in the background. So rather than pursue it, I just kind of bury it away. It's not that big of a deal. That is not honoring God. That is hiding the talent that God has given us. If God has given you a talent, for cleaning your church, and you're not doing it, then you're burying the talent he's given you. And he said he would, take that talent and give it to somebody else. Okay, you're not being faithful with what he's given you a job for. Maybe your talent is raising your kids. That is your heart. That is your passion. That's what you're good at. That's what God's gifted you for, is to equip your children. That happens to be what I believe to be one of my gifts, is the ability to equip my children and train my children up. So I focus a whole lot on that. This passage is loaded with stuff. You can, one of the things that I pull from it is, he gave people responsibilities. He gave each of these dudes responsibilities. He said, okay, I want you to handle this, and you to handle this, and you to handle this. The first two took the responsibilities. They did those responsibilities to the best of their ability. They took the money that they were given and they doubled it. Okay? They made money for their master. They worked wisely. They worked diligently to double what he had given them. And he gave them more. And he made them a partner with him. The third person in this was so afraid that he would disappoint his master that he went out and buried it. He didn't work with it. He didn't do what his master had expected him to do. Out of fear, out of laziness maybe, he buried it. He didn't work. He did not follow through on his responsibility. And I think a lot of the time, we are afraid of messing up. Maybe you are called to sing, in your church. Maybe you are called to teach a Bible study or to preach or, something way out of your comfort zone. Go to a foreign country, go on the mission field, go to college, go, whatever. But you're so afraid that you won't be successful at it that you're burying that, you're hiding it away, and not stepping out of your comfort zone because you don't want to disappoint anyone, let alone God, by not being good at it. A lot of the time we do that, but yet God, that's what disappoints him, because he put that desire in your heart and he gave you this vision and this dream, whatever it is, for a reason. And if he gave it to you, he will equip you to do it. Public speaking is something I do not like to do, but I have had to do it a few times. And the one thing that I realized once I was up there is it's not as bad as it seems. And you can trust that God will give you the words to speak. It's not something I like to do. I'm fine with video because I'm not looking at anybody but myself. So that's why this works for me. But it is about using what God's given you. And, a lot of the time we want more and we want to be used in bigger ways than what we see happening in our lives. Maybe right now, you're over here on the sideline. And I know I feel this way sometimes too, so I do understand. You're over here on the sideline, but you want to be used in a bigger way. Well, until you're doing what God's called you to do with what he's given you over here, and you've taken it out of that ground and you've started doing it and using it, he's not going to take you over here and give you something bigger. So if you want God to increase in your life and increase how he uses you, you've got to be faithful with the small things. Danny Johnson, actually, she's a Christian businesswoman, entrepreneur, that teaches on this particular passage a lot. She says, you got to be faithful with the small things, the little things God's given you. Whether that's taking care of your home, taking care of your clothes, taking care of your car, whatever, before God's going to give you the bigger, better stuff. Okay, and I take that, and applying that to living our lives for Christ. Well, if he's called you to clean your church, then you clean your church better than anyone else. If he's called you to work in children's ministry, then you be in there with a happy face and you put in the time and effort for those children just like your pastor does to preach in your church. They are just as important as preaching to the congregation. Be faithful in the small things and God will increase that and give you the desires of your heart. But you've got to be faithful over here. Stop worrying about disappointing God, because if you're not doing what he called you to do, then yes, you are disappointing him. And you're letting fear control your life. And that's not what God wants. He wants us to be set free from that. And he wants us to know that serving him is all he wants from us. You've not got to be the best at it. You just have to be faithful to do it to honor God. And as you're faithful to do it, he'll give you the increase in that area and in your life of ministry and service to him. So be faithful with the little things for, that may be in your job. Maybe in your job, you've been given this little mundane task and there's some big project you want to be working on, but you're not really doing what you're supposed to be doing with the small task. So why is your boss going to give you the bigger task? If he can't trust you with something you should be able to do in a couple of days, why would he give you a project that would take a couple of weeks? Start with the small things and be faithful in those. Whether that may be faithful for you is picking up your Bible and reading it every day. Maybe it is taking time to pray or share your faith in some way every day. maybe that is the baby steps that you need to be doing right now. And that's awesome, but you got to step out of your comfort zone and do it. If you let God use you in small ways, you'll be amazed at the ways he'll start using you. And you'll realize really some of the ways that you thought were big really are not that big as God progresses you to them and you grow into them. Yeah, I know I used to look at some people in my life and think, man, why can't I have that kind of ministry? Why am I still here in this place? Well, the reality is I wasn't being faithful to what God had called me to do to start with, whether it was letting life sidetrack me or just getting discouraged or whatever. I wasn't being faithful where God called me. You've got to grow where you're planted. So if your mission field is your home, then you share your faith in your home with your children and your family and your friends that you invite into your home, and trust that God will move you where he wants you to be in his kingdom and in ministry. And in life, he'll grow you as he wants you to be. So I hope all that made sense, because this is like something I was really passionate about. This is like really something I've struggled with a lot throughout the years. It's just wanting to be over here somewhere when my talent's over here, and learning to be content in my talent and use it for God's glory and let him move me in it to where he wants me to be, has been a learning process for me. So today, my question to you would be, how would you describe yourself? What comes to mind when somebody says describe yourself? What are the things you're most passionate about? I would say, my faith, my family, and friends. Fitness, anything fitness related is huge for me. That's my top 3 things right there. And then, crafts. I like doing creative stuff. So, but those are my top 3: my faith, my family and friends, and my fitness. And I put family and friends together because a lot of my family is friends. So, those 3 would be the top of my list. So what would you use to describe yourself? And if you're going to say, well, I couldn't do that because I'm an introvert, my pastor made a statement, just because you're an introvert doesn't mean God can't use you. God can equip you to do whatever he's called you to do, and we need introverts as much as extroverts, so that doesn't fly either, just so you're aware, guys. A lot of the time we're more aware of our weaknesses than our strengths, and we spend more time focusing on our weaknesses than we do our strengths. Why do you think we tend to naturally focus on our weaknesses more than our strengths? Personally, I think because we want to make those areas stronger, but we get so focused on the weaknesses that we're not using our strengths. So what I want you to do today is make a list of your strengths. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What are your strengths? What comes naturally to you? And what do other people tell you you're good at? Think about that. What have you heard other people say? Oh, wow, you're just really good at that. I wish I could do that like you. I want you to think about those today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about blending our talents and our strengths together for ministry. But you need to do your homework today and make a list of what your strengths are. Let's close in prayer. Daddy God, I thank you for this day, and I thank you that you have equipped each of us very specially, very uniquely, and that no talent, no gift is better than another. That we are all connected together and we are all part of the same body, and that you need each and every part of the body working together in harmony rather than trying to be something we're not. And in our physical body, our toe can't say, I want to be the eye. It doesn't work that way. And so if our gift is a gift of helps, and that means, we're going to serve in the church and we're going to clean and we're going to, assist and go pick up things and run errands, then let us do that to your glory. And if our gift is ministry with children, then let us pour our whole heart into that, not thinking that, oh, well, this really doesn't matter. These are just kids, because whether you're rocking and singing and praying over a little baby in nursery, or you're teaching, school-age kids in children's church, you're planting seeds and you're watering seeds, and you're watching these young children, this next generation of Christians grow in you, Lord. Let us do everything and give us the desire to do everything we do for your glory, and realize that no matter what our gift is, what our talents are, There is no small in your eyes. They're all created for your glory, and that's all you're asking us to do, is use them for your glory. Lord, help each of us start to pull our talents out of hiding and start using them to glorify you, whether it's through social media or it's through the people we come in contact with in our lives, it's through our businesses, our workplace, our churches, wherever we are, Lord. Let us start using our talents to glorify you in all things and not be afraid of disappointing you by not being good enough, but to fear more disappointing you by not doing what you created us to do for your glory. Daddy God, I pray that you will pour your blessings out on everyone listening to this today, that they may be a blessing to those around them. I pray that you just give us each opportunities throughout the day to use our gifts and our lives to bring glory to you. In Jesus' most precious holy name, amen. Have a very blessed day, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.